Hello, everybody, and welcome to our third episode of our grain to glass solution. In this episode, we're going to be talking about cask management. My name is Ahmed Malik from Catalyst ERP. So, diving straight in, our end-to-end solution allows you to manage your components, your spirit production, etc., all the way through. But for the actual cask management, the vessel management, we provided various different ways that you can do that within the system itself. As NetSuite and Bottle ERP are a finance system at its heart, we're tracking the vessels, the containers, the casks as fixed assets that can have depreciation schedules, can have maintenance, can have inspections on there, can be associated with customers if you're doing private casks or brokers, depending on how you're doing them. And then we provided some visualization on top of that to allow you to manage that information as well. So take a look at our first screen, our location management screen. This gives you an ability to do a capacity plan, a walking path to various different casks, your IBC that you might be storing. So I've got two warehouses set up here. Take a look at distillation plant, which is 2% full. It's got 201 bays or areas that we've defined that we can store different elements. If we open it up, my distillation plant has been split up into 4 different sections: cask storage, IBC, etc. Each one of those is then being further split up into sub-areas. And you're defining at every single stage the different parts, the different working areas of your warehouses, your different setups that can be unique per warehouse, per area, etc. So in this case, if I go to IBC storage, it's split into 3 areas where I've got 24 sections, pallet sections, whatever it might be, where I can store my IBCs. Going all the way through, if I click through to A1, to see my actual IBCs that I'm tracking, to see the information against them, to see what's in there, the ABV, the strength, etc. All the key information that I want to see along with the empty areas as well. The second screen is taking that a bit further and looking at this in a holistic view across the entire business. Casks that you might store, vessels that you might store, but also third parties might store for you as well. Or if you just want to see that information at entire business level. Same sort of information is supplied, where you can see different vessels, casks, IBCs, tanks, whatever you've defined that you want to be able to track on here, seeing the ABV, the strength, the LPA, if it's in a cask, with the wood type, the cask codes, the batch, etc. With hyperlinks both to the actual fixed assets and to the actual batches themselves, being able to track the history of these batches and the casks. Because we track both of them separately or together, we are then able to track the history of these either together or separately as well throughout the system. And at every single stage, being able to click through to each one, use the filters at the top to filter down the information or the casks that I'm looking for in case there's specific casks as part of a parcel, as part of a batch, as part of a specific type of cask, etc. Being able to filter all that information using my first screen and my second screen as well. This then allows us to report on this information. And I've got a couple of example reports that we can take a look at. So I've got my container stock report, which just shows me the same sort of information, but in list view, where I can then export it if I need to review it, get it emailed, etc. Use various filters at the top of this page, where I can see the asset, the ABV, the AYS, the fill day, the age, the LPA in the bulk, but also the costings of these as well, in bulk, LPA, and the total cost as well, and what the cost would be per LPA and OLA, depending on if I've got the information within the system for the OLA and RLA as well, depending on if I've regauged. This is one report I can look at. And as NetSuite's a finance system, as you do your spirit production, as you do your regauges, as you do your samples, the costs are all increased to take that into account to make sure you're getting the most accurate cost overall per LPA so that you can track that information. And as you track that information, as you store those casks, you're going to be having angel share. So we've got various reports that allow you to track that angel share all the way up to, in this example, 20 years, where we can see potentially what the value of our stock should be at 20 years for various ages and what the current RLA value is depending on when we do the regauge. And similarly, be able to do that from a valuation point of view as well, and seeing as our LPA, as our angel share increases, what is our valuation change based on the values of the pricing table that we've put in. So in this case, if I had everything and it matched to the schedule, we'd have 17 million worth of stock on hand by the time 20 years came around. That's a couple of ways to manage that as well. But I can also then look at my history of my casks, my liquid as well to manage the cask itself. So then if I'm talking about heritage, if I'm talking about the actual wood itself, I can look at that and see where that's come from. Using our grain to glass screen, if I put in a batch number, So an end batch might be a cask, it might be a bottle, whatever it might be. We can trace that through the system and see exactly what's happened to it using our cask management solution around the history creation, the history management. We can trace it all the way through. So in this example, I've got my first stage, which is the production of the bottle. We can open that up and see what components went into there, if they had any purchase orders off there. Liquid, if we open up the liquid, we can see the sample, the batting, from the batting, the 5 casks that went into it, from one of the casks, the production that it came from, to the actual components that went into there, to the purchase orders, to everything else that's gone into there, giving us an overarching hierarchy of our entire casks, our liquid, etc. Being able to get that full history view of the system, being able to track our wood as fixed assets, being able to track our liquid within those woods, being able to predict our angel share and valuation, and various other reports around what it might look like if we try to bottle in year 4 compared to year 5 and how many bottles we might get out of it compared to production as well. All that information feeding into these various reports, visualizations, giving you an overarching view of your system as well. So that concludes our session around cask management. Thank you for your time.